Fact: understanding musical concepts doesn't guarantee to make you a better musician. Fact: understanding musical concepts doesn't make you a worse musician either. Now, cracking that myth, we can say that understanding music in general will give you the opportunity, and nothing more than an opportunity, to see musical structures, possibilities and concepts that you wouldn't have discovered with merely intuitive and auditive playing, with a few Guitar Hero exceptions of course. But if you don't have superpowers, then understanding music may help you to develop faster and in a broader way. Now, besides that, talking about music and explaining your ideas to others is a lot easier if everyone understands what you are talking about, right? So, music is a beautiful language on a world scale. Now, this tutorial is a 3-part tutorial covering chord theory. The first part covers the very basics of chord theory, namely triads. Now, these triads are the foundation of all other chords in Western tertian harmony. Now, what is a chord? Well, a chord is the result of 3 or more unique pitches or frequencies that sound together. Now, pitches or frequencies are known as notes to us. Now, a triad is the most basic form of a chord, consisting of only 3 unique notes. Examples of triads are, for instance, the G major or C major chord and the E minor or A minor chord, and so on. Now, triads can be supplemented by other notes, creating so-called extended chords. And we will see extended chords in part 2 and part 3 of this series. So when we say chords, we mean the collection of all possible chords, and the triad is just a member of that collection. Now, chords can be combined to create chord progressions, and some combinations of chords will work better than others, and this is described in the theory of functional harmony, which is taught in every musical academy in the world. And this is caused by a physical phenomenon that is called overtones. Now, overtones are extra notes in the air that are produced when playing a single note on an instrument. The sonic result of the harmony of together sounding notes with their overtones evokes a feeling of emotion that can be described as happy, sad, bright, dark, and so on. Now, to understand what's next, you have to know what a 3rd and 5th interval is. And feel free to skip to the next chapter if you already know these intervals. Now, a 3rd interval is the distance between the 1st and 3rd note of a diatonic scale. And there are 2 versions of this interval, the major 3rd and the minor 3rd. Now, the major 3rd has a tonal distance of 2 whole steps or 4 half steps, if you like. It creates a bright and happy sound, and we'll find such a major 3rd between the notes C and E that are part of the C major scale. Now, the minor 3rd has a tonal distance of 1½ step or 3 half steps. This interval sounds darker and sad compared to the major 3rd. And we'll find this interval between the notes C and E flat that are part of the C minor scale. The 5th interval is also important for chord theory. The 5th is the distance between the 1st and the 5th note of a diatonic scale and has 3 versions: the perfect 5th, the diminished 5th and the augmented 5th. Now, the perfect 5th has a total distance of 3 whole steps and a half step, or 7 half steps. It is the distance between the notes C and G, and this interval sounds smooth and nice, and in music we call this a consonant sound. Now, the diminished 5th has a tonal distance of 3 whole steps, or 6 half steps, and it is the distance between the notes C and G flat. The interval has tension and sounds a bit eerie, and we call this sound a dissonant sound as opposed to the consonant sound of the perfect 5th. Now, the augmented 5th has a tonal distance of 4 whole steps, or 8 half steps, and it is the distance between the notes C and G sharp. So, now you know the intervals that we're going to use in the next chapters. Now, as I said before, the triad is the most basic form of a chord, containing the minimal required amount of 3 unique notes to be considered a chord. Less notes would be an interval and more notes would be an extended or an added tone chord. Now, triads are formed by stacking 2 times a 3rd interval, and this is essential for understanding chords. In the C major scale we can create triads on the different notes of the scale. And we can build a triad on the note C, for instance, by stacking a major 3rd that is formed by the notes C and E, and a minor 3rd that is formed by the notes E and G. And we can build a triad on the note D by stacking a minor 3rd that is formed by the notes D and F, and a major 3rd that is formed by the notes F and A. And a last example, we can build a triad on the note E by stacking a minor third that is formed by the notes E and G, and a major third that is formed by the notes G and B. So it is obvious that the order of minor and major thirds can change within the different triads. Now the triad on the note C is built with a major and a minor third, while the triads on D and E were built with a minor and a major third. Now this is important to be aware of for the things to come. Now with the combination of a major and a minor third we can make 4 different triads. And each triad will result in a different sound and emotion. Now how this relates to chord shapes on the neck of the guitar we'll see later in this video in a comprehensive overview. So we can make the following combinations. And I will represent the major third as a wide rectangle and the minor third as a narrow rectangle. Now we can stack a major third and a minor third. And we can stack a minor third and a major third. And we can stack 2 major thirds. And we can stack 2 minor thirds. So how does this relate to the actual triads? Well, when stacking a major third CE and a minor third EG, we have created a triad within a perfect fifth interval CG. And this triad sounds bright and happy, and we call this a major triad or a major chord. And this is the shape and sound. Now when stacking a minor third and a major third, so the other way around, we'll still have a perfect fifth CG, only now the minor third comes first. And this combination sounds darker and sad. And we call this a minor triad or a minor chord. And this is the shape and sound. Now then we could stack 2 minor thirds, C and E flat and E flat and G flat. And this interval between C and G flat is now a diminished fifth and creates an unstable dissonant sound. The diminished fifth is also called a tritone interval that plays an important role in functional harmony. And we call this triad a diminished triad or a diminished chord, and this is the shape and sound. Now the last combination is that of stacking 2 major thirds, C, E and G sharp. And the interval between the C and G sharp is called an augmented fifth and it creates a dissonant sound. And we call this an augmented triad or an augmented chord. And this is the shape and sound. So 4 types of triads. A consonant major triad built from a major and a minor third. A consonant minor triad built from a minor and a major third. A dissonant diminished triad built from 2 minor thirds. And a dissonant augmented triad built from 2 major thirds. Now in any major scale we can build triads on every note of the scale. And this is called harmonizing a scale. And we will do this for, how could it be otherwise, the C major scale. If we do so, we'll see that we sometimes create a major triad and sometimes a minor triad or even a diminished triad. So on the first note C, the tonic of the major scale, we can build a triad from a major third and a minor third. And in the previous chapter we have learned that this is a major triad or major chord. On the second note D, we can build a triad from a minor third DF and the major third FA. And we know now that it is the D minor triad, DFA, or simply said the D minor chord. On the third note E, we can build a triad from a minor third EG and a major third GB, creating the E minor triad, EGB. On the fourth note, the triad is built by stacking a major third FA and a minor third AC, and this makes an F major triad, FAC. On the fifth note of the scale, the triad is built with a major third GB and a minor third BD. And this generates a G major triad or G major chord, G, B and D. And on the sixth note we can build a triad by stacking the minor third AC and the major third CE. And this is an A minor triad or A minor chord, ACE. On the seventh and last note of the scale we can build a triad by stacking the minor third BD and again the minor third DF. And this creates a B diminished triad. And this is the only dissonant triad in the scale. So we have seen that there are major triads on the notes 1, 4 and 5 and minor triads on the notes 2, 3 and 6 and the diminished triad on the 7th degree. Now let's play all the triads in order of appearance, the major shape, the minor shape and the diminished shape. notes in the scale are called degrees or scale degrees. So the major scale has 7 degrees. The first degree is the tonic of the scale, and by the way, not the root as many people think. The root is the first note of a chord and the tonic is the first note of a scale. Now, the degrees are indicated with Roman numerals. Now, and as we have seen, we can build chords on every scale degree. And those chords are also indicated with Roman numerals, but the minor chords are indicated by lowercase numbers and the major chords are indicated by uppercase numbers. Every scale can be harmonized by building triads on each scale degree. Now, the minor scale is derived from the major scale and therefore has the same notes and thus the same triads. In fact, the minor scale is the major scale that starts on the 6th note of that major scale, for instance C major and A minor, and they are called relative scales. Now, in the next scales we'll use the note E as a tonic because then the shapes are positioned in a logical way on the neck of the guitar. So, harmonizing the E minor scale results in these triads. E minor, F sharp diminished, G major, A minor, B minor, C major and D major. In both major and minor scale, we did not encounter in an augmented triad. Now, to study this triad, you could harmonize either the harmonic minor scale or the melodic minor scale. The harmonic minor scale is the minor scale with a major 7th degree. The triads in the E harmonic minor scale look like this: E minor, F sharp diminished, G augmented, A minor, B major, C major and D sharp diminished. In the A melodic minor scale we'll find even 2 diminished triads on the 6th and 7th degree. E minor, F sharp minor, G augmented, A major, B major, C sharp diminished and D sharp diminished. Now, of course, triads can be seen as normal open chords like C major, G major and D minor. But triads are also played in their pure form, containing only 3 notes without duplicates. Now, the pure triads can be divided in 3 groups: shapes on strings 1, 2 and 3, shapes on strings 2, 3 and 4, and shapes on strings 3, 4 and 5. And the shapes on strings 4, 5 and 6 are the same as the shapes on strings 3, 4 and 5. Now, you'll find all the shapes in the PDF file linked in the description. Now, here are the shapes on strings 1, 2 and 3 in root position, first inversion and second inversion. And here are the shapes on strings 2, 3 and 4 in root position, first position and second position. And here are the shapes on strings 3, 4 and 5 in root position, first position and again in second position. Now, there's a special group of triads that are altered. And in these triads, the third is replaced by the 2nd or 4th degree. Now, you could say that the third is suspended in favor of the 2nd and 4th degree. Now, we call them suspended chords or short sus chords, and they are notated as sus2 or sus4. For example, C sus4. Now, if we look at the structure of the major triad, we'll see that the triad is built from a major and a minor third, C, E, G. And to create a suspended triad, we'll have to replace the third E with the 2nd degree D, and we'll get a C sus2 chord, C, D, G. The structure is now a stack of a perfect 4th and a major 2nd. I will play the C major triad and the C sus2 triad after each other to hear the difference. Now we can do the same to create a sus4 chord. We'll replace the third E with the 4th degree F. The triad is changed from a C major to a C sus4. The structure is now a stack of a major 2nd and a perfect 4th. Now here are the 2 chords in a row. And you can hear a certain tension in the sus chords, and that's because of that major 2nd interval that sounds dissonant. Therefore, a sus chord likes to resolve to the common triad and most of the time a major triad. Now, like in this progression where the G sus4 triad resolves to the G major triad. shapes for the sus2 triads in root position first inversion and second inversion look like this. And the shapes for the sus4 triads in root position first inversion and second inversion look like this. Triads are the foundation of all other chords, and I must say that this concept goes for tertian harmony theory, which is by far the most used theoretical concept. The other kind of harmony is quartal and quintal harmony, but I covered that already in another tutorial. Anyways, a big thanks for watching and I see you next time.